So it's only been a few days since I made a video talking about how the Nintendo Switch 2 might soon be coming out with an updated screen, as it was discovered on Chinese resale sites that it looks like that there's going to be a new panel that's now coming from Sharp that's going to be going into Nintendo Switch 2 systems, and that's different from the current one that's being supplied by Innolux. Now, this is likely happening because of new European laws with how devices need to have an easily removable battery that's easily accessible for consumers to get to and stuff, and Nintendo's pretty much just following that rule now by releasing an updated version of the Switch 2, but people were speculating if this new screen could potentially fix some of the issues that are already present with the current Switch 2 screen, as there are definitely some issues and problems that people have, and I already kind of talked about all of that inside of that video, so if you haven't seen it already, there should be a little eye up in the corner right now. You can definitely click or tap on that if you want to go and watch that video, but also have it in the outro of this video if you want to go and watch it after you're done watching this one. And so that updated Nintendo Switch 2 screen does sound pretty nice, but today we've already got a rumor now that looks to be way more interesting, which is that we might be getting a full-on Nintendo Switch 2 revision sooner than you think. With the release of Pokemon Champions, Pokemon battles are now accessible to a whole new audience of mobile players, but not every phone can get the game. Maybe you don't have the gigabytes of free storage available, or your smartphone is overheated and can't run the game. That's where Moomoo Player comes in. Moomoo Player is the ultimate next-generation Android emulator, perfect for running the newest games. Many other Android emulators have issues such as poor performance, lag, and constant update compatibility issues, but Moomoo Player offers flawless stability with high frame rates and beautiful graphics. It has an Android 12+15 dual system, giving risk-free flexibility, easy to install updates for games like Pokemon Champions, and broader game compatibility with even overseas regional versions of games opening perfectly smoothly. On top of that, it comes in with built-in auto translation and a game booster, so even if you're playing a version in another language, you'll have zero trouble jumping right in. And here's the best part, it's completely free to experience. The installation process is very simple, and you can start playing games like Pokemon Champions in amazing quality like I have here with just a few clicks on PC or Mac. There's many customizable options for whatever kind of PC or system you might have, and I was able to get the game running incredibly smoothly with high quality visuals. Check out Moomoo Player from the link in the description or the pinned comment below, and thank you so much to Moomoo Player for collaborating with me. Alright, so this has been making the rounds for the past few days, where it says here, Nintendo is reportedly considering launching an OLED version of the Switch 2. And it says right here, according to ZDNet Korea reporter, Nintendo is reviewing plans for a Switch 2 OLED model. One insider told ZDNet that the company is considering a Switch 2 OLED model with full HD 1080p resolution, a big upgrade compared to the 720p resolution of the original Switch OLED. And so this would obviously be the same resolution that we have on the current Switch 2, but the current Switch 2 screen is definitely not OLED. The source added that if Nintendo decides to proceed with the OLED model, product development could begin at the end of this year. If that happens, mass production could start as early as late 2027 or early 2028. Another industry insider told ZDNet that Samsung Display is expected to work towards supplying OLED panels for the Switch 2. However, the price difference between the OLED panel and the LCD panel is reportedly one of the factors preventing Nintendo from finalizing plans for the OLED model. So yeah, it seems like Nintendo might already be getting ready to have a new revision for the Nintendo Switch 2 very soon, and 2027 does kind of make sense because we pretty much get a Switch revision like 2 years after the system had come out, and that is what happened with the original Switch as well. However, the first revision that we got for the original Switch was actually the Nintendo Switch Lite, which came out in 2019, and that was 2 years from the original Switch's release. And I did mention before how I wasn't really sure if Nintendo would be able to make a Switch 2 Lite for this generation because we've already seen like the prices of RAM and SSDs skyrocket because of this crisis that's happening right now. And because of that, Nintendo had already announced that the Switch 2 is getting a price increase starting in September as well, and I just really don't know if they would be able to make a system that's still going to have all of the power and performance that a Switch 2 has, and cram all of that into an even smaller system and then release it for even cheaper, because a Switch 2 Lite would have to be cheaper than the original Switch 2 if it's trying to focus on handheld play and being even smaller, like what they did with the Switch Lite, and I just don't really think that they'd be able to do that right now, so they'd have to wait for the prices for these components to come down or the chips to get more efficient so that they're cheaper and stuff, and that's why I just don't know if they'd be able to get a Switch 2 Lite as fast as they did with the original Switch, and that's why it would kind of make sense now if Nintendo is deciding to jump right away to a Switch 2 OLED. But even with this possibility, we saw the article mention how Nintendo is kind of hesitant on this because of the prices for all the components, and if Samsung is going to be providing OLED displays now for these Switch 2s where they're going to be 1080p and they're going to be 8 inches and stuff, then I could definitely see the prices for the systems getting pretty expensive, and this could be like a $600 system by the end, or maybe even more expensive at like $620. Now, as someone who did own the original Switch OLED, I really did enjoy that system a lot. Like, I had the original day one Nintendo Switch before I had the OLED, so the battery life was like super terrible. So going from that to basically having like more than double the battery life was already incredible when I got that. And I actually played my system a little bit more in handheld mode because of that, but just the screen itself was so vivid and colorful. Like, I remember like I booted up Xenoblade right away as soon as I got it to compare, and I put that tweet on Twitter and it kind of blew up too because so many people were like talking about how cool the screen was with how much more colors and like vibrancy you were getting on the Switch 2 OLED. So clearly, if you are somebody who plays a lot in handheld mode, getting a screen like that on the Switch 2 would be like a night and day type of thing, where you would definitely have a much better time playing a lot of these like third-party games and the Switch 2 games on your Switch 2, because the screen would just be much more vivid and it's going to look really nice, and you're probably going to get better battery life too, because that is definitely one of the worst things right now about the current Switch 2 system. But yeah, if you're somebody who didn't jump on getting a Switch 2 right away when it first came out and you've been waiting a little bit, then this revision might be the perfect one for you to jump into the Switch 2 ecosystem, where that way you're going to be getting a system that's already going to get a better screen, and that could be a huge deal for someone if you are somebody who plays mostly in handheld mode. But for someone like me who already has a Nintendo Switch 2, and I've mentioned before that I pretty much play all of my games docked like 95% of the time, so for me, I play that already on an OLED TV, so I'm basically getting a Nintendo Switch 2 OLED right now, and I rarely ever play my games in handheld mode. So if it's literally just going to be the same exact system but the screen is just going to be an OLED, I'm probably going to be skipping out on it. I don't really have any reason to get it. The way that they would get me is if they somehow also improve the experience on the TV too, where if it has like better HDR performance on the TV, or if they do something to where it runs even better now for games on the TV, that's how they would probably get me to buy the system again. But if it's just the exact same thing but the screen on the tablet is going to be an OLED, I'm definitely going to be skipping it, because as somebody who pretty much always plays docked, there's really no reason for me to get it. But yeah, it's really not surprising that there's already talks about a Switch 2 revision, as we had already seen the Switch 2 Lite come out just 2 years after the original Switch, and it is going to be 2 years since the Switch 2 next year, so I could very well see them having some type of revision already. And next year we are supposed to be getting some pretty big games. There's a big rumor that the next 3D Mario game, and the big one that we've been waiting for such a long time, is coming out next year. We've already got a new generation of Pokemon with Pokemon Winds and Waves, so it could be a pretty big year for the Switch 2 next year, and having that alongside new hardware I think could be really nice. And so yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button and also subscribe to the channel as well. I'm definitely gonna have some more videos talking about Nintendo, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you think about all of this. Would you be somebody who would actually upgrade your Nintendo Switch 2 if you have one right now and get an OLED version? Or are you somebody who's kind of waiting for the OLED version and you didn't jump on the Nintendo Switch 2 right away, so you don't have one? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. But if you don't have anything to say about it, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at @Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.